since that's still in effect, wouldn't that be under old business? Wouldn't you have an update on that under old business?
I'm lost again, where's 209?
What's 209?
That's
The
the,
Before they
venues
take
there,
everything
the-
down.
Yeah.
yeah,
We
They
can,
nuked
we can
it.
put that on the next one.
because there's no update, no plan to correct.
Not yet.
No, there's
He
not.
said that, he said he was working on one.
Well,
But as
That's
you
the-
know, that, you know, we did get advice that there wasn't, we didn't have too much. Janet Brooks had written us and we issued the cease and correct, and that's where we are right now.
did you ever get an opinion on whether you could put it on the land records?
No, we did not.
Would you?
I think that because Curtis was working with him, and Curtis has gone onto the site, and Curtis is working and trying to save some of the, what was it, white oaks or something?
Some of the trees that are regenerating.
And he had gone over it, the planting plan with, Mr. Ducey.
Yeah.
So that is the update, I mean, like
There
Curtis
isn't-
has been,
There is no planting plan, and he has said that
there is no, you know that for a fact that he's not working with that,
they went out,
and then that was it?
he told them, well, anyway, that, the commission can't make him do it, so. He, is kind of more interested in the optics of it, and he's trying to appease the, lake residents that are complaining. And that the commission can't make him do anything, and that's sort of where he's at.
He did agree to the buffer, so
Yeah.
we don't know, I mean, he's been very agreeable with all of us, so we'll see what happens. All right.
Well, they're my neighbors, and I talked to them, and anyway, that's what he told them. So, had you had any more thoughts on actually, writing, fines into the regulations? No?
No. I don't think so.
In Woodbury, where I live, there's, per occurrence, per day fines, and it's making a statement.
statutorily, I think that exists. The difficulty is getting those fines imposed. It's not something that gets to be just applied and then enforced to collect it.
Sort of have to go to court.
Yeah, you have to go to court,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Woodbury went to court 3 times on the same property. One, twice.
Did they feel it was worth it?
Yes,
They did.
they did, absolutely, because it sends a message. What message are people getting from Salisbury? They're getting what I've heard for years, it's easier to ask forgiveness
Beg forgiveness than to ask for
than ask for
permission.
permission. And I think it's gone beyond that now. I think it's gone to just do whatever you want because nobody's gonna do anything about it. I think that that's where it's at now. So,
I think that we should have the ability to impose fines. You know, I know maybe the only one here that feels that way, but it doesn't mean you have to do it. It doesn't mean, you know, it's just one, one thing that we would have in reserve, that I hopefully we would not use very often, but the fact that we don't have the ability at all, I think is a mistake. And I don't know exactly what would have to happen, what the procedure would be to change that, but I feel that we should consider that.
Next time you have an opportunity to speak to a legislator, you might suggest that all municipal agencies, like building department, planning and zoning, conservation commissions, and wetland agencies, have the right to write out a ticket similar to a state policeman writing out one for illegal parking, which then has to be adjudicated within a court of law. Because I agree with you that very often there is a process to get involved in a judicial action on a particular case which is so cumbersome that for the most part it doesn't happen. And it's a terrible thing to be a dog without teeth, as I have experienced over the years. In speaking to someone, explaining what the violation is, telling them what we have in reserve as being able to take them to legal actions, and having them sit there flat foot on the ground and say, do it.
But if a commission does take legal action, go to court and wins, the party has to pay the
Our
commission's legal fees. So I think it's,
The key phrase is "and wins."
and win. Well, in most cases,
We would
the
only,
tenants
I would
win.
imagine we would only take that step if we had a really strong case.
You wouldn't do it just,
And, that we would have to have legal advice that, this is a clear violation, and that, that it's not ambiguous.
I think in the future, we're just going to see more and more and more violations.
I have that concern.
So,
Well,
I think it's worth considering.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly, it's just, it's.
I'm not saying it's easy to implement, but
But it also, when one goes to one's board of selectmen to gain permission to speak to an attorney about what could be a pending legal issue, depends upon the time of year, because if you're getting towards the end of the budget year, you may get what I have gotten at various points in time, so, we really don't want to spend that legal money. Isn't there some other way of resolving it? And obviously, reasonable people can come to reasonable conclusions, but you're not always dealing with reasonable people when they're, ignoring the regulations and doing as
well, as
Mary
we,
has said, saying it's easier to beg forgiveness than ask permission.
well, as we've seen, these things tend to drag out over a long period of time, and if you're at the end of the year, I'm sure things could drag on till the next budget year, and
Well, that's always true.
so.
well, as a commission, is it possible that we could try to contact the legislator to,
Well, no, you can, you don't have to
Draft
do
a
that, you can actually go online and look at Woodbury's and see what they have in their regulations, and they probably amended their regulations to include it.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes, the Inland-Wetlands and Watercourses Act provides for fines and
That's
says
worth
that the
it.
towns may implement these, but in order for them to be opposed, the municipal agencies, meaning you folks, have to put it in. But it sets out the fines, and the advantage is, as John was saying, these things tend to go on, which favors the developer, because meanwhile he's putting everything in its facts on the ground. But if there are fines out there that accrue for every day, so the strategy of stretching you out, and then he may be looking at tens of thousands and thousands of dollars, may have an impact. Of course, to the extent that we're dealing with deep-pocketed people, $50,000, $100,000 is a chump change in just the cost of doing business and getting it developed. But at least it does maybe send a signal and say, look, we're not going to stand for any more you guys saying, well, that's very nice you gave me this. We already know what happened on the one part of the lake where a person received about 6 or 7 cease and desist that she blew through. And it didn't bother her, just put it at the door. So it's something got to change, because, as you know, the lake is in danger of dying with all the algae blooms we're getting now.
oh, that was.
We're getting algae blooms we
Hodgeburg,
never had
Ackerman,
before.
take your pick, either one.
People can't go swimming in the lake now.
Oh, we've had a few little algae things.
Ruth, are you aware of other towns other than Woodbury that have that system?
No, I've never worked with a fine system in any of the towns I've worked in. They have avoided it. And, you know, maybe the point is that Mr. Reedy said is that you're working, I mean, in other towns, most people do not like things in their files that look bad in case they wanna sell their property, you know, and things like that. And also, cooperation is usually a little bit better. But, no, in other towns that I've worked in.
Yes, there are though, there's other towns that have
He
that.
asked me if I had worked with it.
Oh, not if you've worked with them, but yes,
Yes.
there are other
I
towns.
was in a conversation with a commission member and he asked me if I had worked, no,
No,
I have not.
no, but there is other towns. And Woodbury too, talk about deep pockets. Woodbury Wetlands went up against Dollar General recently and won.
Go on.
I mean, they've got really deep pockets.
In
but
wetlands, you mean?
In wetlands, there, yes, because, and,
It wasn't an application, it was just a violation?
no, it was an application.
Yeah, okay, that's different. The corporations usually adhere to whatever the decision, or you fight it in court, they usually do it the normal way. I've dealt with a lot of big corporations. But an individual, it can be very different, especially on their, you know, Dollar General's a corporation, they go here, 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 here. And if they don't, if this parcel doesn't work, they buy another one.
Right.
Peter?
Motion to adjourn?
Second? All in favor?
I-
Thank you.